My friends accuse me of being morbidly sensitive to any suggestion of anything that would even suggest dumbing down. You know what dumbing down is? It's that late 20th century sort of notion that anything intelligent, anything sophisticated, anything like that is dumb, elitist. And it needs to be replaced with words and thoughts that are pitched to the lowest possible common denominator. A little bit like television shows these days, in other words. And if I were honest, I would confess that the very opposite of dumbing down was a big part early on of my love affair with the Episcopal Church. I loved hearing words in our prayers that I didn't hear any other time. Unfeignedly thank thee. Inestimable joys. Oh, nice, good words. And it always seemed to me that to speak, we don't have one, but if we did, to speak of the undercroft instead of the church basement was a lot nicer word. And of course, the person who takes care and cleans our church, to call that person a sexton rather than a janitor seemed to me to elevate the holiness of the work of housekeeping. So, when I hear Jesus say in today's gospel, truly I tell you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God as a little child will never enter it, I have a little bad reaction to that. And then I make myself stop and I say, now John, we've been down this road before. We thought about this for a number of years. There is a distinct difference between childish and childlike. To be childlike, how does that get us in the kingdom of God? Well, we might start with the way that people in Jesus' time would hear this teaching. Children in first century Palestine were the most vulnerable, the least important, the lowest in all society, even lower than slaves, who at that point at least had some legal rights, clearly defined legal rights. So first century listeners would have heard Jesus say that to enter the kingdom of God, we need to put aside our privilege, our honor, our distinctiveness. To enter the kingdom of God as a child enters a home. Children are born into a home or into a family, and you know they come just as they are. And that's just fine, isn't it? Just as they are, and that's just fine. And that is how we do enter the kingdom of Christ. We come as we are, and we discover that we are accepted as we are, loved as we are, for who we are, not for anything we might attain, not for anyone we might become, not for anything we might one day accomplish, but as we are. We are loved. No titles, no degrees, no wealth, no distinction, no accomplishment, as we are. And so, to enter the kingdom of God, we understand, don't we? We are, and it's my favorite phrase, and you want to say it with me, aren't you? We're just another bozo on the bus, right? Nobody special, nothing extraordinary, but a beloved child of God, like every other human on the planet. And see, this is the miracle. This is the mystery of grace that is born alongside us and born within us. Our epistle this morning tells us that this is exactly how our salvation is accomplished in God. God's own self. Here it is again, because it's these are big words and these are big thoughts. It was fitting that God, for whom and through whom all things exist, in bringing many children to glory, should make the pioneer of their salvation perfect through sufferings. For the one who sanctifies and those who are sanctified, you and me, all have one Father. For this reason, Jesus is not ashamed to call us, every one of us, brothers and sisters. Now that is a jaw-dropping thought, isn't it? That is simply astonishing. And when we realize that it means to enter the kingdom of God, the reign of Christ, as a brother, as a sister to Jesus, as God's own sibling, we understand the great value of coming with nothing else but the way we were born, just as we are beloved. Think about our own children, our grandchildren, nieces and nephews, godchildren. For the first parts of their lives, they have no ideas at all about hating or rejecting or despising or judging other people. Children respond to love with trust. And they don't stop to think about who or where that love is coming from. Now you all know, David and I have 2 biracial grandchildren. So our grandchildren have no fewer than 4 grandfathers. 2 biological, 2 by marriage. 1 of them is black, 3 of them are white. 2 of them are straight, 2 of them are gay. And here's the stunning thing. They don't care. It doesn't matter a hoot to them. All they know is that they have 4 adult men in their lives who think they are absolutely wonderful and want to see them become and grow and be all that they possibly can be. Well, that's a lot like the kingdom of God, isn't it? It just doesn't matter. That's how Christians also are meant to view the world. In that kind of non-judgmental, non-critical, not learned response. We don't stop to ask whether somebody deserves help. We don't stop to ask whether somebody has tried hard enough on her own or his own. Children look around and they see someone with food and someone without. And you know what they say? That's not fair. Isn't that the most common thing we hear out of our children's mouths? That's not fair. That's not right. That's how we're meant to enter the kingdom of God. To look at inequality and say quite simply, that's not fair. That's not right. Well, as it happens, today in our calendar year of 2015, this day, October 4th, were it not on a Sunday, would be the feast day of a gentle, humble man who understood this extremely well. Blessed Francis of Assisi, who gave away everything he had, who left us in return with so much wisdom about facing the hard issues and the hard choices of life. How about this one? This is a Francis quote. Start by doing what is necessary. Then do what's possible. And before you know it, we are accomplishing the impossible. Start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and before you know it, we are accomplishing the impossible. That's how habitat houses are built, aren't they? That's how the hungry are fed. That's how the poor have relief. That's how we see that everyone has what they need in this world. And the last teaching of Francis I'll quote this morning says all of this, but in many fewer words. Preach the gospel at all times. When necessary, use words. Don't you love that? Preach the gospel at all times. When necessary, use words. Being a Christian is an incredibly difficult vocation. And it takes our whole lives even to come close to this vocation. But if we can just remember every now and then to come at it as an innocent, trusting child who has been loved from the beginning just for the fact that we are, just as we are, we stand some chance of doing what's necessary, then what's possible, and before we know it, we are doing the impossible. Well, I started this little homily with a bit of intellectual snobbery, and it's okay. You can beat me up for it later. Maybe I can redeem myself if I tell you one of my very favorite bumper stickers in the whole world, which is anything but intellectual snobbery. It goes a little bit like this. This is my version. You gotta dance like nobody's watching. Love like you've never been hurt. Sing like nobody's listening. Love as though heaven's on earth. Come as a little child. Start by doing what's necessary, then what's possible. And together we will reshape this world. In the name of the Father, and the Son,